The English Channel and the North Sea are no longer just busy water passages. They have become vital battlegrounds in a high-stakes strategic game. Russia's attempt to use these waters as its own backyard for mapping and threatening Europe's critical infrastructure is alarming. Yet, the United Kingdom and NATO allies like France, Norway, and Iceland are sending a clear message: zero tolerance. With the deployment of 3 new P-8 Poseidon aircraft to Iceland, patrols now intensify, hunting Russian submarines lurking beneath the icy waters of the North Atlantic and Arctic. The recent operations in the Dover Strait mark a turning point. Russia's free movement at sea is over. Each Russian vessel, once passing unnoticed, now faces suspicion and scrutiny. Every ship is a potential threat, perhaps even a hostage. The echoes of engines, the cold ripple of the water, and the tense, silent watchfulness paint a vivid picture of a new, relentless maritime defense. This confrontation isn't just a military display, it's a message aimed at a shadowy world beneath the waves. This shadow world is the dark heart of Russia's economic and military strategy, the Shadow Fleet. Floating rust buckets, tankers more than 15 years old, hide lucrative secrets. Registered in obscure nations like Panama or Liberia, these vessels sail without insurance. Their true owners remain hidden, all while ferrying oil that fuels the Kremlin's war machine. The stakes are enormous. If these ships stop passing through the Dover Strait, Russia's oil exports to India and China could grind to a halt, shredding the backbone of its economy. The British Royal Navy's tough stance is just the beginning. This is more than a show of force, it's part of a larger plan to choke off Russia's financial lifelines. The fleet of obsolete tankers acts as the fuel arteries for Putin's war effort. By targeting these vessels, the West aims to sever the flow of billions of dollars, ruble earnings that keep the war machine running and fund its campaign in Ukraine. But the threat runs deeper. These vessels don't just carry oil, they carry the risk of environmental catastrophe. Aging, poorly maintained, many are ticking time bombs. Swedish and Finnish authorities fear a catastrophic spill could happen at any moment, an environmental disaster costing billions to clean up. Since these ships are uninsured, the burden falls entirely on European taxpayers, risking widespread ecological damage. The coordinated interdiction sends a shocking message: Russia's covert operations are no longer hidden in the shadows. Instead, they are exposed and challenged. These vessels are used to circumvent sanctions, looping around the restrictions with ease. The wider strategy is clear: disrupt the entire supply chain. If the Dover Strait becomes impassable for these pirate ships, the global economy feels the shockwave. Oil destined for the world's largest consumers could come to a sudden standstill. But what lies behind these shadowy vessels? Are they just smuggling oil, or is there something more sinister? Evidence suggests these ships could be used to sabotage vital underwater cables, disrupt power grids, or even deploy submarines for covert operations. The lines between civilian and military blurring in an invisible, dangerous game beneath the surface. Imagine the silent hum of fiber optic cables being cut, the faint flicker of data lines flickering out. How much depends on what these rusted tankers and disguised vessels hide beneath their decks. The response from London and its allies is fierce. With each intercepted vessel, a message resonates: no ship is beyond reach. The strategic blockade aims to strangle Russia's economic arteries, cut off its oil exports, block its ability to finance war, and protect the European continent from unseen threats lurking beneath the waves. The stakes couldn't be higher: billions of dollars, global stability, and environmental safety all hang in the balance. Every passing ship, every intercepted tanker, reveals a cruel truth: the shadow war for control of the seas is over. It has been exposed, challenged, and now, actively fought. The question remains: how long can Russia's ghost fleet operate in the shadows before the curtain is finally pulled back? And what shocking secrets will be uncovered next beneath the dark waters? The threat of environmental catastrophe looms large. These rusted, aging tankers, poorly maintained and uninsured, are a ticking time bomb. Swedish and Finnish authorities warn a massive oil spill could happen at any moment in the Baltic Sea or the English Channel. Such a disaster would devastate coastlines and economies. The cleanup costs could soar into billions of dollars. The burden would fall squarely on British and European taxpayers, as these ships threaten crucial waters. In response, the United Kingdom has stepped up its maritime defenses. Sharp inspections of Russian vessels aim not just to enforce regulations, but to prevent environmental disaster. Danish authorities recently intensified checks in the Skagen anchor zone. They scrutinize shadow tankers under the guise of environmental rules. But this battle extends beyond oil. It's hybrid warfare. These civilian ships disguise military intent. Russia's shadow fleet uses them for sabotage, espionage, and intimidation. Though the Baltic has supposedly become a NATO zone with Finland and Sweden's accession, the truth is more sinister. It's become a battleground for covert operations. Evidence shows vessels like the Yantar and Stoichi sabotage energy infrastructure and spy on critical data lines. Chinese and Russian-linked ships have damaged submarine cables linking Finland and Estonia, severing vital communications. The Eagle S tanker was caught dragging its anchor across undersea cables, risking widespread disruption. This is no accident, it's deliberate. London's recent interception of Yantar and Stoichi sends a powerful signal. No longer will these ships operate freely in European waters. It's a warning, allowing them to roam unchecked is like planting mines in our own backyard. If the United Kingdom, along with allies, begins systematically stopping, inspecting, and turning back Russian vessels along the route from the Danish Straits to Dover, Russia's logistics would face a crippling blow. Moscow depends heavily on the shadow fleet. About 62% of its oil exports pass through these vessels. Blocking this artery would cost Russia billions monthly, strangling its economy and weakening its war effort. Ukrainian intelligence reports confirm that many tankers targeted in Russia's ports are part of this clandestine network. As the tension escalates, the stakes could not be higher. Will the West manage to cut off Russia's maritime lifeline before it's too late? The coming weeks may decide the fate of global stability and the environment itself. Russia's economic lifeline is under attack. More than 62% of its oil exports flow through the shadow fleet, vessels shrouded in secrecy and deception. If this underwater artery gets cut off, billions in revenue vanish overnight. Recent hits to tankers like Saturn I and Pollux reveal a chilling truth: these ships are no longer untouchable. Each strike sends shockwaves through Putin's war chest, choking his financial engine. The pressure intensifies as the UK's naval prowess, combined with Ukraine's missile strikes, forms a deadly pincer around these covert vessels. Cargo ships, fishing boats, even tankers are no longer just carriers, they've become potential flying bombs. Imagine swarms of kamikaze drones launched from unsuspecting civilian ships drifting in the heart of the English Channel. The nightmare scenario? These vessels transforming into missile platforms capable of striking London, Portsmouth, or critical energy hubs in the North Sea. This isn't mere speculation. It's reality. A Turkish liquefied petroleum gas tanker was attacked in Ukraine's port of Ismail. It was a brutal reminder: civilians are now battlefield targets, turned into tools of war. Romania's evacuation of border villages reveals how close NATO's territory has come to the chaos. The threat is no longer years away, it's happening now, lurking just beneath the surface. The UK is fighting back. By stopping these ships, especially camouflage vessels like Yantar, London aims to crush Russia's asymmetric tactics. Allow these ships free rein, and tomorrow a fisherman's boat could unveil a Zircon missile or unleash a swarm of Shahid drones. Russia has already deployed similar strategies in the Baltic, camouflaging military assets among civilian ships. If Moscow's shadow fleet continues unchecked, the global economy could face disaster. The old tactic of hiding war tools among peaceful vessels isn't just dangerous, it could spark a catastrophe. Every second counts in this silent war beneath the waves, and the stakes have never been higher. The Royal Navy now tightly controls the waters around Britain, but the threat of unseen danger remains. Imagine a fisherman's boat suddenly opening its hatch to reveal a missile or swarms of drones. Russia has repeatedly used civilian ships for covert military operations in the Baltic. Yet, in Dover, London slammed that door shut. This intervention is a strategic move to halt Moscow's tactic of hybrid maritime warfare. What if the UK had stayed passive? Russian ships would have continued to sail freely, slipping through narrow straits and into open waters. Their confidence would have soared with each unchecked passage, making these strategic areas their playground. The borders of Europe's maritime security would have dissolved into chaos. NATO's deterrence would have become mere words on paper. But instead, Britain reasserted dominance with cutting-edge patrol vessels like HMS Severn and HMS Somerset. The ripple effect? Other European nations are stepping up. Denmark intensifies inspections along the straits, while Sweden's surveillance increases. It's a collective effort to form an unbreakable maritime shield. Meanwhile, the economic front heats up. New sanctions targeting the shadow fleet are on the table. Plans to authorize seizures of suspicious vessels for environmental or security reasons are gaining momentum. This approach cuts at Putin's oil empire. Each intercepted tanker means billions lost. Even diplomatic measures are changing the game. Panama begins revoking flags from old ships tied to Russia's covert fleet. This pressure tightens around Moscow. The Royal Navy's vigilant interdiction, especially against vessels like Yantar and Stoichi, signals a shift. Laser threats, aggressive tracking, and electronic warfare attempts show that Russia's gray zone operations no longer have free rein. Now, Britain is not just watching, it's marking ships as threats, ready to act. These vessels are no longer shadowy intermediaries, they have become targets. This new stance blows the cover off Moscow's strategy, closing the door on their unseen war at sea. Russia's quiet dominance? Over. The era of unchecked freedom in these waters has come to an end. The stretch from the English Channel to the North Pole is no longer a safe route for Russia. It has become an invisible minefield, guarded by vigilant British P-8 patrol planes and fast-moving frigates at nearly every turn. Each vessel that attempts passage now faces a well-prepared trap. What once seemed like open waterways for Moscow are now under relentless surveillance. Every ship, every move, is scrutinized. The reality is stark: Russia's claim to immunity at sea is shattered. The decisive operation at Dover signals a new era, one where Russian military and economic supply lines are bound tightly, restricted and watched. Intercepting the Stoichi, hacking Yantar's lasers, and targeting the shadow fleet, all these actions reveal a shift. The West is no longer in defense mode. We are on the offensive. London's move to stop and scrutinize Russian vessels strips away the illusion of invincibility. Now, these ships are potential targets, not just cargo carriers. Putin's gamble, transforming civilian ships into covert weapons and aging tankers into money machines, failed spectacularly. London's response, a steel wall across the sea. Now, every Russian vessel that seeks entry is treated with suspicion. It's no longer just a ship, it's a floating threat, a strategic target. Soon, Russia's oil exports might be trapped in ports, rotting unused. Its spy ships could be rendered blind, their surveillance capabilities crippled. Its ambitions of naval dominance are corroding in the frigid waters of the English Channel. The game has changed forever. In this new battlefield, every move counts. The West's vigilant stance ensures that Moscow's naval advance is halted, its economy strangled, and its influence diminished. The sea, once a highway for Russian ambitions, has turned into a battlefield on the brink of locking down Putin's reach entirely. My message to Russia and President Putin is clear: we see you, we understand your plans, and if the Yantar ship proceeds south this week, we are prepared to act. The English Channel, that narrow, stormy strip of grey water that separates the United Kingdom from France, has long been a gateway of peril and power. For centuries, it has decided the fate of mighty empires. But recent weeks have transformed this historic passage. No longer just a boundary between nations, it's become a battlefield, a choke point where the Kremlin's maritime lifeline has been severed. The Royal Navy has intercepted and halted Russia's most advanced war machines, along with vital supply tankers, right in their own waters. This isn't ordinary patrol duty. It's a surgical strike, a razor-sharp blow to Moscow's naval supply line stretching from the Baltic to the open ocean. Off Dover, in the thick fog, the British ship HMS Severn locked onto the RFN Stoichi, a state-of-the-art Russian corvette, and its tanker, Yelnya. These ships, once sleek and unstoppable, now found themselves pinned, trapped by relentless surveillance and precision tracking. But this story doesn't end with just warships. There are shadowy vessels mapping underwater cables, ghost ships like Yantar lurking in the depths, targeting key military installations with laser dazzlers from above. And most ominous of all, Putin's aging, uninsured shadow fleet, rusted vessels fueling his war machine, are now under Britain's watchful eye. The message from London couldn't be clearer: we see what you're doing. We understand your intentions. UK Defence Secretary John Healey's words echoed like a declaration of war, less diplomatic warning, more an unmistakable statement of resolve. If Yantar moves south, Britain stands ready to respond decisively. This isn't just about defending British waters. It's a calculated maneuver to dismantle Russia's plans. The goal? Disrupt the covert operations of civilian ships being turned into drone platforms. Neutralize the shadow fleet fueling Moscow's war efforts. All this began as Russia sought dominance in the English Channel and North Sea. Over the past 2 weeks, what unfolded went well beyond routine maritime control. It escalated into a tense cat-and-mouse confrontation, surveillance, interception, suppression of covert activity, an intense game of modern naval warfare that could reshape the region's power balance. The message to the leadership of Russia and President Vladimir Putin is unmistakable: we are watching you. We see every move, understand every plan. If that Russian Yantar vessel heads south this week, we are ready to act. The English Channel, the narrow, stormy strip of water separating Britain from France, has long been a battlefield of power and destiny. For centuries, empires have fought over this quiet gateway. But now, in recent weeks, this ancient waterway has transformed into a strategic choke point where the Kremlin's maritime lifeline has been cut. The Royal Navy has intercepted and halted Russia's most advanced warships, cutting off their supply lines, directly in their own waters. This isn't just routine patrol work. It's a surgical blow, precision strikes aimed at crippling Moscow's naval supply chain from the Baltic Sea to the vast Atlantic. Off Dover, amid fog and low clouds, the HMS Severin locked onto the Russian corvette RFN Stoiky, sleek, deadly, and powerful, and its tanker, Yelnya. Once symbols of Russian naval strength, these ships suddenly found themselves trapped, cornered by relentless tracking and surveillance. But the story doesn't end there. British forces have also identified shadow vessels lurking beneath the surface, mapping underwater cables, scouring the seabed for critical infrastructure. Ghost ships like Yantar move stealthily in the dark depths, targeting cables, pipelines, military sites with laser dazzlers from the sky. And the most alarming development? Putin's rusty, uninsured fleet of aging vessels, rusting remnants of a once formidable navy, are now under Britain's watchful eye. The message from London is clear: we see what you're doing. We know your plans. UK Defence Secretary John Healey's words echoed with a tone beyond diplomacy, more like a declaration of war. He warned Moscow that if Yantar proceeds south, Britain will act decisively. This isn't simply about protecting British waters. It's a deliberate move to dismantle Russia's covert operations. They're turning civilian ships into drone launch pads, feeding Moscow's war effort, posing hidden threats and cutting off supply lines. It all began with Russia's attempts to dominate the English Channel and North Sea. But what has unfolded over these past 2 weeks surpasses routine operations. It has intensified into a tense game of cat and mouse, surveillance, interception, suppression, an intense confrontation that could reshape regional power dynamics forever. Britain's strategy signals a new era: no more passive watching. Every Russian ship, from the sleekest vessels to the shadowy ghost ships, is now a target. This is a bold warning, and a wake-up call to Moscow: your days of uncontrolled movement are over.